Revealed, a single mother's incredible blind date with a billionaire changed their lives forever. Clara had always been the heart of Sunny Diner, her laughter mingling with the sizzle of bacon and the clatter of plates, painting a picture of hope in a small suburban town. Yet, on a mundane Tuesday, the world seemed to spin off its axis when her well-meaning coworker, Lisa, pushed a blind date on her. "You deserve more than this grind, Clara. Think of it as an escape," she said, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. Clara hesitated. Love felt light years away when weighed down by the responsibilities of raising two radiant kids. Mia and Jake were her joy, their laughter echoing through the walls of their modest home. Still, the thought nagged at her. What if this date could lead to something beautiful? That evening, Clara found herself in a lavish restaurant, the faint clinking of silverware dancing through the air like a distant symphony. She sat across from Jack, a man who wore his wealth like a tailored suit. He didn't fit with the grease-stained booths and coffee-stained tables she knew by heart. The conversation started awkwardly, an uncomfortable dance around their differences, but then they shared stories of struggle. Clara spoke of late nights working double shifts to make ends meet while Jack revealed the insecurities that haunted his childhood. Their words flowed freely, igniting a spark she hadn't felt in years, illuminating the stark divide that separated them from the rest of their lives. But just as quickly as the spark ignited, doubt crept in. Whispers floated down the diner's counter when Clara strolled in the next day, shadows of judgment in familiar faces. What's she doing with a guy like him? They didn't understand. Jack's status and her humble beginnings formed a chasm that seemed insurmountable. Clara felt the weight of her children's future pressed down on her, each rumor like a stone added to her already heavy heart. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Clara couldn't shake the feeling that she was betraying her values and what her kids might think. Meanwhile, Jack wrestled with the fear that his wealth defined him, a barrier that kept him separated from genuine connections. He faced judgment not only from Clara's world but his own. Friends whispered behind his back, questioning his intentions and his worth. Just as Clara began to imagine a life filled with love, a cruel betrayal threatened to bruise her delicate heart. Maybe this connection was too fragile to withstand? She closed her eyes, feeling tears prick at the corners. Would she choose joy, or protect her children from potential heartbreak? Just when it seemed they might rise together, doubts loomed larger than ever. Clara had to decide, but uncertainty clung to her like a shadow, leaving her on the edge, teetering between hope and fear. What would she choose? Clara stood in front of the mirror, a kaleidoscope of emotions swirling within her. The same woman who used to greet customers with confidence now felt like a stranger staring back. That date with Jack had ignited a spark, yet the weight of expectation bore down heavily on her. She brushed a strand of hair behind her ear, her mind racing with questions. Could she really venture into a world so different from her own? What would Mia and Jake think if they saw their mother stepping out of her comfort zone? Clara sighed, caught in a tug-of-war between excitement and anxiety. She could feel the diner's familiar warmth wrapping around her like a comforting blanket, a contrast to the chill of uncertainty lurking in the corner of her heart. Maybe I should just forget it, she whispered to herself, wrapping her arms around her waist as though preparing for an impending storm. But even as she considered retreating, her mind drifted back to Jack's words, the way they danced around their struggles, drawing parallels between their vastly different lives. It made her feel seen, understood in a way that few ever did. The thought lingered, what if they could bridge that divide? What if love really could conquer all? The next morning brought the same whispers at Sunny Diner. Clara could almost hear their skeptical remarks swirling counterclockwise in a tempest of judgment. She's just chasing the money, one voice said, dripping with disdain. Another added, what would his family think? But this time, Clara stood tall. She took a deep breath, resolving to confront the murmurings that surrounded her. The routine of coffee refills and breakfast orders still felt mundane, yet she approached her tables with newfound vigor. When customers asked about her date, she offered an honest smile, refusing to let doubt dim her confidence. "I had a great time," Clara proclaimed, enjoying the sharp intake of breath from a nearby table. "We're working on a friendship, that's it. No harm in that." As she served Jack's favorite pancakes during his weekly visit, Clara felt butterflies erupt in her stomach. Each time she met his gaze, her worries loosened just a bit. Jack was different. He was kind and attentive and made her laugh. She was drawn to him in a way she hadn't anticipated, despite the world around them shaking its head in disapproval. During one of their conversations, Clara shared a story about Mia's cupcake debacle, how her daughter had covered the kitchen in flour during a baking attempt gone wrong. Jack laughed heartily, and Clara's heart warmed. He didn't just see her as a single mother struggling to make ends meet. He saw her for who she was: brilliant, resilient, and capable of love. But the nagging feelings were persistent, a river of doubt constantly threatening the dam Clara had constructed around her heart. Her children were always the priority, but with each passing day, she felt herself inch closer to a decision that could change everything. Would Jack understand? Would he love her kids as fiercely as he seemed to love her? Just then, Clara's phone vibrated with a message. It was from Jack, asking if they could talk that evening. A knot tightened in her stomach. Did he sense her hesitation? Was he ready to take a step forward? Or worse, was he reconsidering this budding relationship? The possibilities played out like a movie reel before her, each destination filled with hope and dread. Clara took a deep breath, heart pounding in her chest. She glanced at Mia and Jake, who were laughing at their drawing on the kitchen table, and thought of how much they all deserved happiness. With night approaching, Clara stood at a crossroads. Was she ready to embrace the unknown, to fight past the whispers and challenge the likelihood of heartbreak? Or would she retreat, keeping her heart locked away? Tonight's conversation with Jack would surely cast her doubts into stark relief. Time seemed to stretch endlessly. Would this be the moment of truth she needed, or the beginning of an even greater struggle? Clara paced nervously in her small living room, glancing at the clock every few seconds. The anticipation was unbearable. Jack's message replayed in her mind, the invitation lingering like a sweet perfume. What did he want to discuss? Her stomach churned, doubts creeping back in like shadows. The children were now tucked into bed, their laughter fading into the soft hum of night. She crossed to the window, peering out into the darkened street. For a moment, she could pretend that everything was just fine. But deep down, a storm of uncertainties raged within her. Would Jack still feel the same way as he did when they met? Would he see her differently once he learned the full truth about her life? Just as she settled into the couch, her phone buzzed once more. Jack had arrived. The thought of him being close sent adrenaline coursing through her veins. She smoothed her shirt and ran her hand through her hair, needing to shake off the anxiety that clung to her. When Clara opened the door, Jack stood there, a soft smile on his lips that took her breath away. He looked casual yet charming in his jeans and a simple sweater, that warmth seeping into her rapidly cooling world. "Hey," he said softly, stepping into the living room. "Hi," she replied, motioning for him to sit. Her heart fluttered as she took in his presence, a comforting strength intertwined with an air of grace. They settled into the couch opposite each other, an unspoken tension woven between them. "I hope I didn't catch you off guard," he began, his voice steady but warm. "I just wanted to talk, well, about us." Clara's heart raced, a mix of exhilaration and fear gnawing at her insides. "Okay," she murmured, willing herself to listen. Jack ran a hand through his hair, his brows knitting together. "I know our lives are different, and I understand if no, Jack," Clara interjected, surprised at her own urgency. "I need you to know something first." The words tumbled out hurriedly. "I'm not just a waitress. I'm a mother. My kids, Mia and Jake, they come first for me. Always." He nodded, his expression full of understanding. "I figured as much. You seem so dedicated. It's inspiring." Clara's heart soared at his words, but the fear still settled deep within. "But it's complicated, Jack. I don't want to drag you into something heavy. Complicated is life, he replied, leaning forward. I want to know you, all of you. And your kids. I want to meet them. She blinked at him, her stomach nodding. You want to meet them? The statement echoed in her mind, illuminating the path ahead with both hope and trepidation. I do, he affirmed, sincerity radiating from him. But only if you think they should meet me. We can take it slow. No pressure. Clara inhaled deeply, allowing the moment to meld in her heart. A mixture of excitement and fear enveloped her. This is a lot to take in. Look, I know I might not be what you expected, but there is something special about you, Clara. I really like you. His gaze held hers, and for that moment, the world outside faded away. Like in a good way? She asked tentatively, hope fluttering in her chest. Jack smiled softly, the corners of his eyes crinkling just so. Definitely in a good way. Elated yet unsure, Clara's thoughts raced again. Could they really make this work? Could she allow herself to dive deeper, risking not just her heart but her children's as well? Can we take this one step at a time? She asked, her voice shaking slightly. Absolutely, he said. I don't want to rush you. Clara considered his words, feeling a swell of gratitude for his patience. But with it, the reality of her life hung heavily in the air. She could feel the weight of the decision looming ahead, an agreement made, but not yet fully embraced. Just then, her phone lit up again, a surprising chime drawing both their attention. It was a notification from Mia's school, a parent-teacher meeting announcement. Clara's heart sank. This is what I'm juggling, Jack, she began, unable to hide the weariness in her voice. Yet intertwined with her worries was a flicker of something new, possibilities and hope. Whatever it is, we'll figure it out, Jack said, his unwavering gaze on her. But could she let him inside this world of hers? Clara's heart pounded in her chest as she contemplated their next move. Little did she know, at that moment, this decision would lead to unforeseen changes, both beautiful and challenging, and as Jack reached for her hand, she felt the weight of the future press against the walls of her heart, eager yet apprehensive. What would she choose? Would she have the courage to invite him into their lives? The question lingered in the air, shimmering with potential, waiting to be answered. Clara's heart raced as Jack's warm hand enveloped hers. She could feel the pulse of uncertainty thrumming beneath the surface of their connection. His gaze was steady, filled with a mix of determination and compassion. For a moment, it felt like the chaos of her life faded into the background. What do we do now? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The gravity of her world pressed in on her children, their routines, the walls that had kept her safe for so long. Jack cleared his throat, pulling away slightly to look her in the eyes. We take it step by step. You have to introduce me to your kids when you feel ready. But first, let us start with you. His calming tone sliced through her apprehension. Clara pondered this but felt a lump forming in her throat. The weight of vulnerability was almost unbearable. You don't know what it's like to balance everything, she said, shaking her head. Mia and Jake rely on me. I can't just change everything in one day. I never asked you to, he replied, sincerity etched across his features. I just want to be part of your life. A small part, if that's what you want. His words sparked a flicker of hope, yet the flicker quickly diminished under doubt. What if it was too much? What if Jack found himself resenting the chaos she lived in? The idea weighed on her heart like a stone. What if they don't like me? What if you don't like them once you meet them? She blurted, her throat tight with fear. Jack chuckled softly, lightening the heaviness in the room. I can't imagine that, he said, his smile infectious. How could I not like 2 kids raised by you? They'll be fabulous. Clara found herself smiling back, despite her fears. You really think so? Absolutely. They're your family, they must be something special. His confidence made her heart swell. But still, the thoughts crept back in past mistakes, heartaches, the choices that had brought her here. Okay, let us say I do decide to let you in. How do I even begin to explain everything? she asked, anxiety seeped into her words. Just be you, he replied, with a warmth that wrapped around her like a blanket. You're doing an amazing job already. You don't owe anyone a perfect backstory. For the first time, Clara felt a glimmer of peace cutting through the storm inside her. To simply be herself, was that truly enough? In her mind, she chased away the shadows, envisioning Mia giggling and Jake cracking jokes. Maybe Jack really could fit into this world. The door creaked from the hallway, and Clara's heart stopped. What if they hear us? They're asleep, right? He reassured, glancing toward the darkened hallway. Yeah, still it's just I don't want to scare them. Or confuse them. Jack looked at her with a thoughtful expression. Why not tell them about me in a way that feels right? No pressure. Just glimpses of who I am and what I mean to you. Like a gentle introduction? She asked, her heart beginning to align with his idea. Exactly. Just like friendship. Let them know you're happy, and I think they'll be open to the idea of new people in your life. Clara could feel her shoulders relaxing slightly at his words. I could try that. But what if they don't understand? They will, he said confidently. Kids have an amazing way of sensing love. Show them that you care about me, and they'll likely reciprocate. The thought wrapped around her heart, warm and inviting, although it still felt risky. Clara had stayed alone for so long, protecting what she held dear. Was she really ready to introduce change? Then another notification buzzed on her phone, ending the comforting moment. It was a message from Mia's school, an urgent update. Clara's heart sank again. It was a reminder that life was never simple. What's that? Jack asked, his tone shifting to concern. It's nothing, really, she replied with a tight smile, but she felt the truth linger between them like an uninvited guest. Clara, he pressed gently, you can tell me. Whatever it is, we'll face it together. In that moment, she realized that maybe she didn't have to face everything alone anymore. Her heart drummed in her chest as she weighed her options, a surge of potential enveloping them both. As she looked into Jack's earnest eyes, the fear began to ebb just a little. But as much as she wanted to embrace this connection, another part of her felt the stubborn grip of worry. What if the choices she made now could shatter her carefully built world in the blink of an eye? Clara took a deep breath, ready to share the weight she had been carrying. The heavy question hung between them. Would this be the beginning of something life-changing or the catalyst for chaos? In that moment, on the edge of revelation, Clara felt both hope and doubt swirling inside her like a storm, and just as she opened her mouth to speak, a sudden loud crash echoed from the children's room, jolting them both. What was that? Jack exclaimed, eyes wide. Clara's heart dropped. Oh no, not now. The moment of truth was clearly about to take a different turn altogether. Clara felt a rush of panic as she sprang up from the couch, her heart racing. She could already picture the chaos that awaited her in the kids' room. The faint light from the hallway seemed to flicker like her own nerves, casting shadows on the walls that had so long sheltered her family. Stay here, she whispered to Jack, though the urgency in her voice betrayed her uncertainty. She didn't want him to see her in full-on mother mode, chasing chaos, juggling responsibilities. But he stood, intent and ready. I'm coming with you, he said, moving in step beside her. Clara nodded, feeling gratitude seep through her worry. Together, they approached the children's room, dread swirling in her stomach. What if that crash had disturbed their sleep? What if they were scared? She pushed open the door, and her breath caught as she took in the scene. Mia was standing amidst a pile of books, her favorite teddy in one hand and a look of pure mischief on her face. Jake, still groggy, was half-heartedly trying to help right the disheveled mess. Mia. What happened? Clara tried to keep her tone calm but felt her voice rise slightly with panic. I was just trying to reach for my book. Mia exclaimed, eyes sparkling with excitement rather than fear. Clara sensed a fib hanging in the air but tried to stay focused on the bigger picture. Jack shifted slightly behind her, observing quietly. Clara felt torn. She didn't want to chase Mia away or scold her for her wild imagination and adventurous spirit. You can't just dive into your bookshelf like that. You could get hurt. But mommy, I wanted to read my favorite story. Mia's tone was defiant yet innocent. Clara sighed, softening as she thought of the late-night stories they shared. Alright, but let's clean this up together, okay? Just then, Jake piped up, rubbing his eyes and yawning. Can we read it now? Clara glanced at Jack, who was leaning against the doorframe, his expression a mix of amusement and curiosity. This was the side of her life he hadn't seen yet. It was messy, loud, and full of love, and that thought settled her heart a little. Let us take a quick 5 minutes to put things back in order, and then we can read a bit, she proposed. They all jumped into action, Mia giggling as she tossed books back on the shelf, while Jake tried to grab a pile that was teetering on the edge. Clara noticed Jack stepping forward, gently helping Jake, lifting him up to reach the higher shelves. Mia giggled even louder. Jack is a superhero. The room brightened with laughter, and Clara felt warmth rising within her. What if Jack could truly become a part of all this? As they finished up, she caught Jack's eye, and an unspoken understanding passed between them. Do you guys want to meet Jack? Clara asked carefully. She could feel the weight of the moment hanging as the kids paused to look at her. Who asked Jack? Jake asked, his voice a mix of curiosity and sleepiness. Before she could respond, Mia piped up excitedly. Is he our new friend? I want to meet him. Clara's chest tightened. This was at the moment she had been both preparing for and dreading. Her heart drummed in her ears. Would they really accept him? Jack took a step forward, his smile genuine. I'm here to help your mom with some super adventures, he said playfully, crouching down to their level. I like adventures. Mia announced, eager. So do I, Jake added, tilting his head as he studied Jack with the innocent scrutiny of a child. Clara felt a wave of relief wash over her. Maybe Mia and Jake would be open to this. Maybe they could embrace change together as a family. In that moment, the iron grip of fear began to release its hold, but a nagging question still lingered at the back of her mind. What if Jack wasn't just a friend but was destined to be much more? Could she really handle that transition in her life without risking everything she'd built? Just then, Jack spoke again. Would you like me to join you for story time? The kids erupted in delight, but Clara remained quiet, searching the distance between her heart and the future's uncertainty. As Jack settled in beside them, she felt a tether of hope and dread simultaneously. But before she could fully process her feelings, Jack leaned toward her, his voice barely a whisper. Are you okay with this, Clara? Her heart raced again, torn between possibility and doubt. She took a deep breath. I don't know, and as the words hovered in the air, Clara knew this was just the beginning. Would embracing this change lead to fulfillment, or would it unravel everything she held dear? The warmth of the kids' laughter enveloped the room, but Clara's heart was still tangled in uncertainty. Jack was an unexpected presence, a flicker of something new in their chaotic little world. As he settled back into the cozy corner of the room, Mia leaned against him, her small frame relaxing as if she had found an ally in this new friend. Can we start now? Jake asked, his eyes sparkling with sleepiness and excitement. The little ones were already drawn into their world of stories, each one a door to adventure, and Clara felt herself caught between joy and the unsettled weight of her thoughts. All right, let us read, she responded, trying to sound more confident than she felt, and pulled Mia onto her lap. Jack mimicked the gesture with Jake, his long arms creating a protective space around the boy, a stark contrast to Clara's familiar embrace. It felt right, yet frightening. As Clara opened the book, her fingers brushing over the worn pages, she found herself stealing glances at Jack. He was animated, showing Jake the colorful illustrations, his face lighting up in a way she hadn't anticipated. It warmed her heart but also twisted her stomach in knots. Was this the change she was scared of? Or was it a glimpse of potential family? Jack's laughter mixed with the kids' giggles, a symphony of innocent joy. But within that joy lay a lingering question. How would things shift once the excitement of this moment faded? Would Jack's presence be genuine support, or merely a fleeting distraction for her children? as the story unfolded, Clara found herself leaning into the words instead of the worry. The characters faced obstacles, yet they always found a way to overcome them, tales that mirrored her own challenges. Maudlin thoughts danced at the edges of her mind, but for now, the story captivated everyone's attention. "Can you come back tomorrow?" Mia asked as Jake's head started to droop against Jack's shoulder. Jack looked at Clara, his gaze searching. "I'd love to," he replied, genuine enthusiasm painting his words. He seemed to instinctively understand the family dynamic at play, the challenge of building trust, the need for connection. The way Jack spoke with the kids ignited something within Clara: hope. Maybe this could work. Maybe he could be the adventure that breathed new life into their little household. But then, the shadows of doubt crept back in. Would he be able to withstand the reality that came with being a part of their family, their chaos? Clara's thoughts spiraled as passions and fears collided, each vying for dominance in her mind. She could envision the potential, yet the scars of past struggles whispered warnings, making her question if this was merely wishful thinking. With each turn of the page, the excitement in the room grew, and finally, as the last line was read, Jake's eyes twinkled with sleep, and Mia squealed, "Can we read again tomorrow? 100 times?" "Absolutely," Jack answered, his smile broader than before. Clara watched him, her heart warring between gratitude and apprehension. Later, as she tucked the kids into bed, their soft breaths and sleepy murmurs filling the room with warmth, Clara exhaled a long-held breath. Maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of something special. But as she turned to the hallway, Jack's voice pulled her back. "Clara, can I talk to you for a second?" Her pulse quickened at the earnestness in his tone. Was it about the kids? About them? The walls felt closer as she approached. "Is this what you want? Being here with us?" Jack asked, his eyes searching hers for an answer. For assurance, the room felt charged, filled with the weight of decision. Clara hesitated. Did she want to embrace this, or would she pull back, afraid of the unknown? "Honestly, I'm not sure," she confessed, the fear spilling out. And just like that, Clara realized she was at a crossroads, teetering on the brink of something profoundly new. What awaited her on the other side of this choice? Would she step forward, or retreat back to the familiar shadows of doubt? Clara stood there, the weight of Jack's question hanging heavily in the air. His hazel eyes were earnest, a mixture of hope and concern that seemed to implore her to take a leap of faith. She could feel the flutter of her heartbeat, the pulse of uncertainty urging her to retreat. But beneath the fear was the soft whisper of something she hadn't felt in ages: possibility. "Look," Jack said softly, breaking the silence that stretched between them. "I know this is new. I can't pretend to understand everything you've been through, but I want to be here for you and the kids." His words kindled a flicker of courage in Clara. What if this wasn't just a distraction, but a chance for something real? Time stretched, shadows deepening in the hallway as they stood face to face. It was a moment that could change everything. But could she risk her heart again? The sounds of the kids' soft snores echoed from the other room, anchoring her back to reality. "It's not just about me," she replied, her voice trembling slightly. "It's about them too." "I can't just let anyone in." "I get it," Jack interrupted gently, stepping closer. "I do. But I want to know them, to be part of their lives. I don't expect it to be easy, but I believe we can create something together." The sincerity in his voice wrapped around her, drawing her in, but the apprehension clenched at her heart. Was she ready to share this piece of her world? "Do you really mean that?" Clara asked, her voice barely a whisper. "What if I open up and we end up hurt?" No one had ever confronted her so directly, and the honesty of his words broke through the walls she had built around herself. "Then we face it together," Jack replied, his conviction steady. "Life is messy, Clara. I see that. But we can choose how we deal with the mess." She thought of her children Mia and Jake, innocent and full of love. They deserved a chance at happiness. Could she allow Jack to be part of that, even if she was afraid of the potential heartbreak? Clara's heart raced with the internal battle. Every defense mechanism she had was screaming at her. But with it came an undeniable flicker of hope that maybe Jack could be the change they needed. Taking a deep breath, Clara stepped forward slightly. Okay, but we'll take this slow. The kids, they come first. A relieved smile spread across Jack's face. Of course. I wouldn't want it any other way. At that moment, something shifted in the air between them. The barrier of uncertainty began to dissolve, replaced with the warmth of shared intent. There was still a long road ahead, filled with unknowns, but Clara felt the first stirrings of trust. As they made their way to the living room, she noticed the small things: Jack's willing demeanor, the kind way he glanced around, as if memorizing every corner of her home. It warmed her, easing a bit of the tension that had knotted in her chest. Can I help with something? Jack offered as Clara began to clear a few stray toys scattered about the floor. No, it's okay, she replied, a small smile creeping onto her lips. I appreciate it, though. Then just let me know when I can be useful, he said, and there was a lightness to his words that made Clara chuckle. They shared small talk, laughter gradually surfacing like a gentle tide, taking her mind off the creeping fear. An hour slipped by unnoticed, and for the first time, the shadows were illuminated by laughter and connection. But just as Clara began to let down her guard, her phone buzzed on the counter, shattering the moment. She picked it up, her heart sinking at the sight of her ex's name flashing across the screen. As she glanced at Jack, his expression shifted to one of concern. Everything okay? It was then she realized that the past was never truly behind her. With a deep breath, she set the phone down, her heart racing in sudden dread. How would this new relationship fare against the churning uncertainties of her past? Clara caught Jack's eye, seeing the curiosity and worry reflected back at her. I don't think I'm done with my old life yet, she admitted, the words tasting bittersweet. Jack nodded, respect shining in his eyes, but uncertainty loomed. Clara understood then that this was only the beginning. What would happen when the past came knocking? Would she be strong enough to choose the present, or would she be bound by what had come before? Clara's heart beat louder than it had all evening as she stared at her phone, the name Ryan glaring at her like an unwelcome ghost. Her ex-memories of hurt and betrayal rose up like tidal waves, and the laughter that had filled the room moments ago faded into a hesitant silence. She swallowed hard, not sure what to say or how not to feel exposed. She started, but the words tangled in her throat. Jack, sensing the shift, stepped closer. Clara? His voice was low, gentle, like a warm blanket that could ease the tremors running through her. Do you want me to go? She shook her head, her gaze lingering on the device that felt heavier in her palm. No, I wasn't expecting this. He hasn't called in ages. Is he still a part of your life? Jack ventured, his hazel eyes searching hers for answers. No, not really. He hasn't been since everything fell apart, she replied, the words almost spilling out, an unexpected confession. But he has a way of reappearing when I least need him. Jack's expression turned serious, and Clara felt a surge of gratitude that he cared enough to inquire. It was a stark contrast to the dismissive attitude she often faced about her past. What do you want? He asked boldly. If you don't want him in your life, you have to make that clear. I know, Clara said, cracking under the pressure of her own thoughts. But I'm scared. Scared to tell him that it's over for good, scared of having to confront him. It all feels so complicated. Complicated can be worked through, Clara, Jack offered, his voice steady and unwavering. She felt his support wrapping around her, giving her courage to look beyond the chaos. Maybe it was time to silence the echoes of her past. Maybe it was time to carve out a space for the things she truly wanted. Taking a breath, she set the phone down. You're right. I can't keep letting his presence loom over my life. She faced Jack fully now, allowing vulnerability to seep through. And I want to be open with you. I don't want anything to come between us, not him, not my fears, nothing. Jack's lips curved into a soft smile that held reassurance. That's a good start. But just then, her phone buzzed again, sending another jolt through her. She glanced at the screen, heart pounding as a message popped up. Can we talk? She felt a rush of anxiety wash over her. Could she ignore it? Would he pressure her? Her fingers hovered above the screen, uncertain. Clara, you don't have to answer right away, Jack encouraged, his calm demeanor grounding her. You control this. You decide who gets a voice in your life. Clara met his gaze, embers of resolve igniting within her. She didn't want the past to dictate her future. I need to do this, she said finally, feeling the potency of her choice. Not just for me, but for Mia and Jake too. Good, Jack nodded, a mixture of admiration and pride in his eyes that made her heart swell. You deserve peace, Clara. With fingers trembling but determination burning bright, she typed back, what do you want? And pressed send. The message seemed to echo with finality, a line drawn in the sand. As they stood in the living room together, the weight of what was to come hung in the air, tangled with newly budding hope. Will she be able to face Ryan? Would she finally claim her strength or allow the past to bleed into her present? Jack's warm presence beside her felt like both a promise and a question. What would happen next? Clara couldn't help but wonder if this was the beginning of a new chapter or if the shadows of what had been would linger too long. The phone buzzed again, and Clara's heart raced. With a deep breath, she glanced at the screen, her future resting just beyond her reach. What decision lay ahead, waiting to reveal its truth? The screen lit up, and Clara's heart sank as she read his response. I need to explain. It was simple yet loaded. Memories of their last fight, a storm of words and hurt flashed through her mind. It made her stomach churn. What could he possibly want to explain? Jack shifted beside her, and she could feel his presence steady and calm like an unwavering anchor amidst the turbulent seas of her emotions. She knew he was waiting for her to decide the next course of action. The battle between her head and heart felt sharp. Do you want me to read it? Jack asked softly, trying to gauge her feelings. His voice was a lifeline, grounding her in reality. No, Clara replied, shaking her head. I need to handle this on my own. With determination, she typed back, what do you want to explain? And hit send. The words felt heavy, like a weight pressing down on her chest. Moments turned into minutes as she waited, a tiny voice in her head warning her not to engage, but she couldn't shake the curiosity. Take your time, Clara, Jack said, sensing her unrest. Just remember that you're not alone in this. His gentle reassurance wrapped around her, and Clara drew strength from it. She wanted to believe everything he said. Yet there was a flicker of doubt. Was she really ready to confront her past, especially with Ryan? The phone buzzed again, and tension gripped her. She took a breath and glanced at the screen. I know things ended badly, but I've changed. Her gut twisted. Had he really? The thought alone made her heart ache, thinking it might be some ploy or manipulation. She glanced at Jack. He was watching her with those sincere hazel eyes, a quiet encouragement that made her feel seen. What do you think? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. Only you can decide if he deserves a chance to show he has changed, Jack replied, his tone serious yet compassionate. But don't lose sight of what you want for yourself or for the kids. The reminder hung in the air. Mia and Jake deserved better than what Ryan had offered them before, a father obsessed with his own life while dismissing theirs. A surge of protectiveness ignited within her. Clara's fingers flew across the screen. You hurt me, Ryan. I can't just forget that. Why should I trust you now? She pressed send, feeling both exhilarated and terrified at her own boldness. Good, Jack said, a hint of pride in his voice. You're standing your ground. Within moments, the reply came. Because I miss you. I realize I was a fool. I want to make things right. She read it with rising indignation, the sentiment infuriating. Wasn't he a classic? Show up with empty words expecting everything to be forgiven. Clara took a deep breath. She had done a lot of soul searching over the past year, digging through her emotions to find who she really was without Ryan. I don't know why I even consider this, she murmured, mostly to herself. "You're human," Jack said softly, reaching out to squeeze her hand. "You want closure. You want to know if there's any real growth in him, any changes." As much as she hated to admit it, he was right. She needed to know if he meant it. With resolve, she typed back, "Let's meet and talk. But I can't make any promises." The phone buzzed once more, and as she looked down, a sob caught in her throat. "Thank you, it means everything." The air felt charged, and it was as if the walls around her world had begun to shake. Hope and dread mixed, swirling like a tempest in her heart. Jack's voice broke her thoughts. "Whatever you decide, I'll be here for you." The openness in his gaze brought a fresh wave of warmth that seeped into her bones. Clara nodded, appreciation overflowing. "I'm glad I have you by my side." But deep down, uncertainty gnawed at her. Would she regret meeting Ryan? Would she fall back into old habits or use this chance to finally reclaim her own narrative? As the clock ticked on, the weight of the meeting with Ryan loomed ahead, fierce and daunting. What would she reveal to him? What part of herself was she willing to share? With a sinking feeling, she wondered if confronting the past might open the door to her future, or if it would further entangle her in a web she fought so hard to escape. The dance between pain and hope had begun, and with it came the looming question: was she truly brave enough to face the truth that would unfold? Clara stood at the edge of uncertainty, the air thick between her and Jack as they made their way through uncharted territory. The meeting with Ryan hung over her like a cloud ready to burst, and yet something within her had begun to flicker with hope, ignited by Jack's unwavering presence. As the day of the meeting approached, Clara found herself in a state of restless anticipation. She prepped her kids for yet another day at school and arranged a playdate for them afterward to keep their spirits high. "Mom, are you okay?" Mia asked, her big, innocent eyes shimmering with concern one morning. Clara knelt down, brushing a wayward curl from her daughter's face. "I'm just getting ready for a big day, sweetheart." It was true, yet the reminder of her past threatened to overshadow any joy in the present. But this time, things felt different. The love she had fostered for herself and her children needed to shine brighter than the shadows lurking at the back of her mind. Jack arrived right on time, his bright smile greeting her like the sun breaking through a storm. "You ready for today?" With a deep breath, Clara nodded. "I think so. I mean, as ready as I'll ever be." As they stood close, Jack looked at her with warmth and belief she desperately needed. "You got this. You can face him, and you'll show him how strong you are." In that moment, Clara realized her journey wasn't about Ryan's past, it was about her present and the future she was building with Mia and Jake. When the hour finally approached, Clara's heart pounded like a drum. She could picture her life differently, could envision happiness beyond fear and the constant, nagging self-doubt. She arrived at the coffee shop, the place familiar yet foreign, her throat tightening as she spotted Ryan sitting at a table, a nervous energy coursing through her. "Clara," he greeted, his voice a mix of regret and hope. But she wasn't there to relive the past. "Let us skip the small talk, Ryan. You wanted to explain." Their conversation navigated rocky terrain. Each word he spoke drew out the hurt buried deep inside her. He apologized, offered insight into his inner struggles, but Clara felt her resolve strengthen as she laid her truths bare. "You can't just show up and expect everything to be fine. You hurt me. You hurt our family." For the first time, she wasn't waiting for his response. Clara was reclaiming her story, laying the foundation for what was non-negotiable in her life. Mia and Jake deserve more than just promises. They deserve actions that reflect love and support. Ryan's expression faltered, yet for Clara, the apologies echoed like the fading sound of an old song. She was tired of the chords of shame playing over and over. When their conversation finally concluded, Clara walked away feeling lighter than air, the pain released with every step. She stepped out into the crisp air, sunlight pouring down around her, embracing life's possibilities. The encroaching darkness of her past had been met with the tenacity of her truth, and she felt joy swelling within her, illuminating the way forward. Later that evening, Clara gathered Mia and Jake. They sat on the couch, laughter bubbling over as they recounted stories from their day. Jack entered, grinning, a tentative yet genuine bridge forming between them. "Hey, did you kids hear about the superhero surprise?" They squealed in delight, and for the first time in a long while, Clara felt a sense of belonging. Was this transformation real? As Jack joined them, reading stories, making Mia laugh with goofy voices, Clara stole glances. Hope settled in her chest. The children were already beginning to embrace what change could mean. "Jack is the best," Jake exclaimed, and Clara felt tears prick her eyes at the innocence of her children's happiness. That night, as she tucked them in bed, she whispered, "Mommy loves you both so much." Remember, love is about supporting one another as we grow. In the quiet stillness of the darkened room, Clara took a deep breath, feeling a new sense of freedom wash over her. She had faced down her past and chosen her own future. No longer weighed down, she finally knew what it meant to move forward. And as she stepped into the light of tomorrow, she felt the warmth of change embrace her as her heart beat in rhythm with possibility. Now was the time to build together stronger than before, anchored in love, resilience, and family. This was not just a new chapter, this was the beginning of a beautiful story waiting to unfold. Don't wait not even one more second to share this journey with your friends. You need to subscribe now to not miss next week's exclusive stories that ignite hope and inspire change. Leave a like right away, it truly fuels the algorithm and helps spread these stories to everyone. Comment your thoughts and feelings about this incredible transformation below. Let's grow this community together.